So today we are going to continue with the anti-ulcer drugs. We have already discussed the drugs which drugs which decrease the acid secretion, that is H2 blockers and PPIs. Another group of drugs which can decrease the acid secretion are the anticholinergics. As you have seen that acetylcholine coming from vagal secretion, as well as the cholinergic agonists play an important role in the regulation of acid secretion. So anticholinergics like pyrazine, propantheline and oxyphenonium, they are useful, but nowadays the availability of H2 blockers and PPIs have decreased the importance of anticholinergic drugs. Nowadays they are not much in use. An important difference in action of anticholinergics from that of H2 blockers or PPIs is these drugs decrease the volume of gastric juice but do not have much effect on the pH. Inhibition of the gastric secretion stimulated by food is less complete. So stimulated acid secretion is not that effectively inhibited, and overall the volume is reduced though pH is not raised. Moreover, the anticholinergic drugs have another drawback, that the gastric emptying is delayed due to relaxation of the smooth muscles. So the acidic contents stay in the stomach for a longer time, and if there is any peptic ulcer in the gastric mucosa, that gets exposed to the acidic contents for a longer time. So anticholinergics are in fact nowadays not employed in the treatment of peptic ulceration because we have better and safer drugs. The fourth group of out of the drugs decreasing the acid secretion includes the misoprostol, which is an analog of prostaglandins, methyl prostaglandin E1 ester. It inhibits the acid secretion, number one. Number two, decreases the release of gastrin. Gastrin further increases acid secretion. So if gastrin is reduced, acid is also reduced. These are the aggravating factors. So aggravating factors are inhibited by misoprostol. On the other hand, it improves the defensive factors. It promotes mucus production, bicarbonate ion secretion, increases the mucosal blood flow, so the innate resistance of the ulcers to heal increases, and it has an ill-defined cytoprotective action also. Misoprostol inhibit aggravating factors, promotes these defensive factors, and has a role in the treatment of peptic ulcer, but it is not much in use because number one, prostaglandins are shorter acting, so we need multiple daily doses. Then these drugs cause diarrhea, abdominal cramps, and if a patient is pregnant, uterine bleeding and abortion can occur. So risk of abortion in pregnancy, abdominal cramps which are disturbing, and diarrhea may occur. Hence we prefer to use H2 blockers or the PPIs which have negligible or minimal adverse effects. But prostaglandins are useful when a patient is on NSAIDs therapy and there is a risk of formation of NSAID induced ulcers, or they have already occurred. For the prophylaxis as well as the treatment of NSAID induced ulcers, prostaglandin analogs have a role, otherwise they are not much in use. So till now we have discussed H2 blockers, PPIs, anticholinergics and prostaglandin analogs, out of which PPIs are the most useful group, followed by H2 blockers. The anticholinergics are not much used for this indication, and prostaglandin analogs are used only when there are NSAID induced ulcers. So in addition to their mechanisms, doses, adverse effects, you need to know their current clinical status. Coming to the second major group of drugs useful in the treatment of peptic ulceration, we have drugs neutralizing the acid. First group was drugs which decrease the secretion of acid. Acid is not being formed. Number one. Number two, acid has been formed. It is in the gastric lumen, and we give something which can react chemically with this acid. So it will definitely be a alkaline or basic substance which reacts with acids. Simple chemical reaction. Acid plus alkali forms salt plus water. We'll see. These drugs are known as antacids as they neutralize the acid. These are basic substances. They neutralize gastric acid, hence the pH of the gastric contents is raised. If the pH is above 4, the pepsin activity gets indirectly inhibited. At the same time, the risk is as the pH raises, reflex gastrin release occurs, which gastrin again can increase the acid secretion. Acid rebound. This is the drawback of antacids. Antacids neutralize acid, raise the pH above 4, which can cause a reflex increase in the gastrin release, and gastrin in turn leads to acid release or acid secretion. This is known as acid rebound. It is disadvantage of antacids. Now we see the potency of an antacid. We define the potency of an antacid in terms of acid neutralizing capacity, ANC of an antacid. It is defined as how many milliequivalents of 1 normal HCl are brought to a pH of 3.5 within 15 minutes of a unit dose of antacid. We give antacid single dose, and then we measure how many milliequivalents of 1 normal HCl are brought to the pH of 3.5. Time given is 15 minutes. ANC. How much is the acid neutralizing capacity of an antacid drug? How much is the acid neutralizing capacity of an antacid drug? Means how many milliequivalents of 1 normal HCl can be brought to 3.5 pH within 15 minutes by unit dose. Now, among the antacids, some are absorbed systemically to a greater extent as compared to others. They are systemic antacids: sodium bicarbonate, sodium citrate. Now, sodium bicarbonate reacting with HCl will form sodium bicarbonate plus HCl. Simple chemical reaction forms sodium chloride plus carbon dioxide plus water. So simple chemical reaction, they act by simple chemical reactions, but this gets absorbed. It is potent, it has instantaneous action with hydrochloric acid in the stomach, but we use it less frequently, only rarely, because there is risk of absorption of this leading to increase in the sodium load, which may be dangerous for cardiac patients, for patients with edema due to any reason. Then, as it is a potent drug, it neutralizes the acid. When the enteral pH rises, there will be reflex release of gastrin. One of the important stimuli for gastrin release is raised enteral pH. So if an antacid, sodium bicarbonate or any other, when it neutralizes the acid, the enteral pH will rise, in turn causing gastrin release and acid rebound. So the purpose is defeated. If there occurs acid rebound, the purpose of use of antacids is defeated. That is why they don't have much role nowadays. And another systemic adverse effect is alkalosis. Raised sodium load, alkali is being absorbed, alkalosis and acid rebound are the prominent adverse effects with systemic antacids. So we prefer not to use them except for immediate, because they're instantaneous, immediate symptom relief, sometimes heartburn or like that, we may use it, but otherwise it is not indicated. Then there are other antacids, other drugs or alkaline substances which can neutralize the acid, but their absorption into the systemic circulation is negligible or very less. They are called as non-systemic antacids, those acid neutralizing substances which are not absorbed into the systemic circulation. They include magnesium and aluminum compounds. One is magnesium hydroxide or milk of magnesia. It has low alkalinity, low solubility, but its reaction is prompt. So underline this word, prompt. Rapidly reacts with hydrochloric acid, and it is efficacious as an antacid because it reacts very rapidly. Prompt reaction will lead to fast onset of action of magnesium. Understand? Though its acid neutralizing capacity is comparatively less, low alkalinity, low solubility, but reaction is prompt, so it yields fast onset of action. Another one is magnesium trisilicate. It also has low solubility and reactivity. 5% of the magnesium salts can get absorbed into systemic absorption. So after absorption, they are to be excreted by the kidney. So in cases of renal function impairment, we have to be cautious about the use of magnesium salts. Laxative action is there seen with the administration of these salts. That is, when magnesium hydroxide is given, it reacts with HCl and forms magnesium chloride. Magnesium hydroxide plus HCl will form magnesium chloride. So this magnesium chloride has got osmotic activity. It absorbs the liquids and results in laxative effect. Secondly, the magnesium ions cause release of cholecystokinin, which causes contraction of the smooth muscles, and there is laxative action. So in the magnesium salts we see fast onset of action as they react rapidly with HCl. Secondly, they make the movement of gut fast, causing diarrhea or laxative action. Gastric emptying time will be reduced. Stomach contents will move forward rapidly. Try to understand, gastric emptying time is reduced when gastric movements are fast. So magnesium salts are making everything fast reaction, fast onset of action, fast movements of the stomach, so that gastric emptying time is less and there is diarrhea or